Hello everyone, this is Leon Vanguard of Vanguard Smithing, and today we're talking about properly annealing your metal before you start forging. Let's get started. Okay, for those of you who've already watched my videos about how to properly anneal, which means to soften your metals, this is what a softened metal looks like. For non-ferrous materials, the grain structure is often circular, not exactly circular, but circular in shape, and this is its most pliable and most easily formable shape and grain structure, because metal is all made up of all different kinds of grains. But if we go to a work-hardened state, when applied under pressure, under work or stress, non-ferrous, non-iron materials tend to compress into a grain structure that's more oval in shape. Now this is good and bad. It's good because now your material is harder, it's stiffer, and it takes a lot more to move it. But it also means that if you try to move it, there's more likely to get cracks and breaks in the structure. This structure here will bend and be very pliable. This one will spring and will resist movement, and if you try moving it, a lot of times you'll get actual fractures and cracks in your metal. If you go to try bending your metal and it starts to show stress very early on, while we're working it over time, you want to properly anneal it. Now, let's go to the actual fun part and start annealing some metal. Now this is where you really have to start knowing your torch and how hot it gets and how long it takes to do certain things. In my case, my torch is pretty good, and so it won't be that long, but I'll show you the signs to look for to know when your metal is properly annealed. In aluminum, it's very risky, and I'll tell you why in a few minutes. But first, let's show you the proper ways to understand when your metal's annealed. Let's get started. Right there, you see that? Right as that red spout, I have the torch up against it. You see how I'm getting this nice bright orange and red tones? Before, there was nothing. Wow, look, you see how bright that was? When it reflects like that, and you get a nice bright reflection, that's when you know you've already met the proper temperature in this case. So right now, our metal's annealed. Not over here where the tongs are, so let me change my position. Let's do this, let's make sure this side's properly annealed. See, not seeing much, not seeing much. See that flare? That's all you need. That's around 800 degrees, or close enough for our purposes. That's what you have to do to anneal aluminum. If you see any color on the metal itself, you're basically done, so you do not want to see actual color on the metal for aluminum. Now I'm going to quench this real quick. Now this has been properly annealed, bending it is very, very easy. Watch this. Just use basic leverage. Bent it almost in half, very soft, very easy to work, and this won't crack and break when I'm trying to bend it and move it. This though right here, cut from the exact same sheet, is still work hardened. It came from the manufacturer work hardened, and I want to use it, and I don't want to forge it, and I can't forge it while it's been work hardened. So watch this. Not sure you can tell the amount of stress I'm putting into this, but watch this. Get a pair of tongs. I don't get enough leverage. And watch this, you see how it springs? That's also what happens when you work hard and stuff like it. It has a spring almost tension to it. But this is also what's dangerous about work hardened metals. Watch this. Not sure if the camera will catch this or not, but watch this carefully. You hear that? these are shooting off almost like, I don't know, buckshot. If this hits your eye, it's gonna suck. So watch again. So you can be very, very careful with this stuff. When something's been worked hard, you try cutting it, it will pop. This right here is the anneal metal, and it breaks off much softer. It has less of that attack mode. So be very careful with work hardened material and anneal before you start. Now let me show you what happens if you go a little too far in heating up your aluminum. First stage, oxidation. Second stage, your metal's trash. You have to move on. So let's get started. See that? It's falling on of its own weight. And you see these stresses here, and you've gone too far. I'm not sure you guys can see it in the shot here, but there's a slight bubbling on the surface now. Those little tiny bubbles are your second warning. Let's see, back up. Just change the angle on the shot here so get a little less light on this. Let's see. There we go. If you start seeing little tiny bubble marks on your metal, that's a little tiny bits of the oxygen still left inside the alloy coming out and exposing. But now, so I'm trying to anneal. Oh, look at that! It's literally turned to liquid. This is the point where your material is now trash, because you loosen up the grain structure so much, and now it's going to be very, very brittle. I'll show you your eye. Watch this. Okay, it's hard to really get it in the shot here, but this little bubbly texture, this almost like a 30 grit texture to the metal, is your first sign you've cooked it too far, and stop. Once you see that little red reflect coming off your material, that's when you've hit the right temperature. Stop there, quench it in water. Or continue up the piece to get it all even, sorry. But now you can see I torched it too far, and you can see all these minor cracks and breaks, which now is just all the structures, all the grains breaking apart, and now this metal right here is trash. So once you get that red flare, stop there. Right? Alright guys, thanks for watching the video today. Today we learned how to properly anneal our aluminum. This makes the process go by faster, metal move much quicker, and less likely to crack as you go along. The only reason you would not want to anneal your material is if near the end you want to keep that hard structure, that nice stiff feeling, and if you want to add some final details in there and you're not worried about it cracking and because you're not shaping that much. Hope you enjoyed the video today. If you'd like to support the channel, just check the description below and subscribe. Put any comments and questions below. Have a good night.